Good morning, Cullman, and thank you for tuning in to Cullman Today. I'm your host, Dustin Isom, and today is Tuesday, November 19th. Coming up on Cullman Today, REHAU Automotive partners with Wallace State to boost workforce development. Cullman County Bosom Buddies receives generous donations to aid cancer patients. And East Elementary earns national recognition as a blue ribbon school. All this plus sports, weather, and more, but for now, let's dive into the top stories happening in Cullman today. REHAU Automotive has joined Wallace State Community College's Center for Career and Workforce Development's Powerful Partnerships program. This initiative connects the college with local businesses to boost workforce development and economic growth. REHAU Automotive's Human Resource Manager, Jonna Schroeder, is particularly excited about the 10% discount for employees. She said, "I think it's a great opportunity for us to continue supporting not only the community, but our employees who want to develop themselves." Companies in the Powerful Partnerships program receive benefits like complimentary access to meeting spaces at Wallace State's Workforce Training Center, alumni memberships for up to 5 employees, special sponsorship rates for events, and access to a pipeline of workers ready for internships, apprenticeships, and employment. They also play a role on advisory boards to help shape educational programs to meet industry demands. For more information on how your business can get involved, contact Bethany Campbell at 256-352-8372 or email bethany.campbell@wallacestate.edu. And in other news, the Cullman County Bosom Buddies Foundation recently received generous donations from local dance troupe The Kickers and Monograms Plus to support their mission of aiding cancer patients in our community. Here's Jen Baker with more on this uplifting story.
The Bosom Buddies are receiving 2 checks today. One is from Classy Kickers and another is from Booby Bingo. Classy Kickers raised and donated $2,500, and Sherry Boatwright with Classy Kickers speaks about how the community has helped.
We're just so grateful to the center. And like I said, Traditions Bank has been a great supporter of ours. Stephanie, Neil, our director, and the merchants here in Cullman have just been outstanding, helping us with door prizes and with food and, with different things like that, with our little gift bags. So Cullman is a very supportive community.
Second donation is from Monograms Plus, where they raised and donated $6,136 from the Booby Bingo event.
We were able to do, I think we sold like 104 tickets. We were absolutely maxed out of our location. We held it at the Buyer building over at St. Bernard, and we were able to raise almost $7,000 for Bosom Buddies. So definitely a fun time. We love bingo. We love being able to host, and love being able to help our community.
Bosom Buddies are receiving both checks on November 18th, and Judy Grissom, Foundation Board member of Bosom Buddies, speaks on how she's a breast cancer survivor, and the donations go to cancer patients in the community.
I'm a breast cancer survivor. Jennifer lives here with me as a breast cancer survivor, so we understand what patients go through after they've been diagnosed, and we want to help them with the financial side of that as much as we can.
In Cullman, I'm Jen Baker with the Cullman Tribune.
Thanks, Jen. And to finish up our top stories, East Elementary School received a national recognition last week in Washington, D.C., as it was honored as a National Blue Ribbon School for 2024 by the U.S. Department of Education. The school is one of only 5 in Alabama and one of 356 nationwide out of more than 100,000 schools to receive this prestigious award this year. Principal Melanie Harris expressed her pride, saying, "I am honored to be the lead learner of a school full of educators who exhibit excellence every day in every way." East Elementary's Amnesty Building-based math coach, Courtney Speciale, highlighted the dedication to student success. She said, "One of the greatest ways we can care for students is to raise the bar. I learned that if there is a gap in expectations, then there will be a disconnect and achievement will be limited. It is important that we believe that every child is capable of meeting their own personal goals one step at a time." The National Blue Ribbon Schools program honors public and private schools where students achieve at very high levels or make significant improvements in closing achievement gaps. Schools are nominated by the State Superintendent of Education. This is the first time in 15 years a school in the Cullman City School system has received this honor, the last being West Elementary in 2009. That's it for today's top stories, but stay with us because after the break, we'll dive into the high school football playoffs where Fairview and Good Hope battled hard in round 2. Hello and welcome back. 2 of our local high school football teams faced tough competition in the second round of the state playoffs on Friday night. So now, let's take a look at the highlights from both Fairview and Good Hope's most recent games. After advancing past Carver Birmingham in round 1, the Fairview Aggies returned to the field to host Leeds in round 2 of the Class 5A state playoffs. Fairview trailed at halftime and made a late second-half push to get back in the game, but couldn't complete the comeback and fell just short, 36-22. Aggies running back Jake Harper finished with 166 yards and 2 touchdowns on 21 carries. Quarterback Colt Redding added 40 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Meanwhile, Good Hope handled Hatton 42-12 in round 1, and the Raiders hit the road to take on Anniston in round 2 Friday night. The Bulldogs took a 16-0 lead into the locker room at halftime and continued pulling away in the second half to defeat Good Hope 43-14 and advance to round 3. A 7-yard touchdown run and a successful 2-point conversion put Anniston up 8-0 early in the first quarter, and later in the second quarter, the Bulldogs recovered their own fumble in the end zone to extend the lead to 16-0 at the halftime break. Another Anniston touchdown run made it a 22-0 game early in the third quarter, and just before the end of the period, a 43-yard touchdown pass stretched the lead to 29-0 going into the final frame. The Bulldogs tacked on another touchdown early in the fourth quarter to move ahead 35-0, but the Raiders were finally able to get some points on the board when quarterback Tyler Cohn found Tucker Malin through the air for a touchdown, trimming the lead to 35-7. The Raiders put together one more scoring drive before the end of the game, capping it with a touchdown pass from Cohn to Parker Johnson to make it a 43-14 game, but those were the final points of the night, bringing the Raiders' stellar season to an end at 10-2. That wraps up sports for today, but stay tuned because after the break, we'll speed things up with 4 stories in under 4 minutes. Hello and welcome back. Now it's time to speed things up with the news rundown. 4 stories in under 4 minutes. As the temperatures drop and we start to see the possibility of snow and ice, the Alabama Emergency Management Agency wants to make sure the community is prepared for potential power outages this winter with a few helpful tips. For starters, they suggest keeping your freezers and refrigerators closed as much as possible to preserve your food. They also suggest to throw out any food that has been exposed to temperatures of 40 degrees or higher for 2 hours or more. If you're using a generator, remember to operate it only outdoors and away from windows for safety. Also, unplug appliances and electronics to protect them from power surges when the electricity comes back on. And it's also important not to use your gas stove or oven to heat your home. If you can't keep your home warm and the cold becomes too much, think about heading to a community spot with power. And if you rely on refrigerated medicines, have a backup plan in place. Stay safe and stay warm out there this winter. In other news, staff from Wallace State Community College are lending a helping hand to communities in East Tennessee affected by Hurricane Helene. CDL instructors Don Stepp and Nathan Vaughn have delivered at least 2 tractor trailers filled with donated items to the Newport area. Stepp, who grew up in Newport, connected with Crossroad Flood Relief at Crossroad Community Church to distribute the supplies. He said, "Talking to some of those people, they lost everything. When Nathan and I went through town, you could see the watermarks on the buildings 15 feet above our truck." Athletic trainer Katie Chauvin and her niece Abby Robertson, a Wallace State Fast Track student from Cullman Christian School, also took a truck and trailer loaded with donations to Greenville and surrounding areas. Chauvin, a graduate of Tusculum University in Greenville, noted that more than 50 homes were destroyed, with many more suffering major damage. Chauvin said, "The landscape is forever changed. What was once a field with crops or livestock has now been washed away or is under the river, which has completely changed its path in some locations, or it's covered in a sandy, muddy mess. It will take years for this land to be usable again, if in fact it is able to be rehabilitated." Many residents and farmers didn't have flood insurance, leading them with costly tasks of rebuilding homes, barns, and replacing equipment. Chauvin delivered supplies and funds to the Greenville Care Center and Horse Creek Farm and Dairy. She was touched by the community spirit, saying, "If one neighbor had a surplus, they give it to those who need it. They are helping each other rebuild." Stepp expressed gratitude for the outpouring of support, saying, "It's unbelievable. People want to help, but they're just not sure how." Donations included hundreds of jackets and jeans from Wrangler and Hackleburg, as well as items collected from Aniana, Double Springs, and Hansville. CDL instructor Stephen Adams also contributed by securing funding for heaters through his church. The Wallace State team emphasizes that while many want to help, they may not know the best way to do so. Both Stepp and Chauvin thank everyone who donated supplies for their efforts. They're humbled by the generosity shown and encourage others to support the ongoing relief work in East Tennessee. Meanwhile, as Thanksgiving approaches, preparing the perfect turkey doesn't happen overnight. Janice Hall, a specialist with the Alabama Cooperative Extension System's federal nutrition programs, shares essential tips to ensure your holiday bird is both delicious and safe. Hall emphasizes planning ahead for thawing. For frozen turkeys, allow 24 hours of thawing in the refrigerator for every 5 pounds. So, a 15-pound turkey should start thawing at least 3 days before cooking. She warns against thawing at room temperature due to the risk of harmful bacteria growth. When it's time to cook, Hall stresses the importance of reaching the correct internal temperature. She says, "It is critical that you monitor the internal temperature to ensure it reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Use a food thermometer inserted into the thickest part of the breast or thigh." Hall also recommends cooking stuffing separately in a pan to ensure it also reaches 165 degrees. For those short on oven space or looking for a quicker method, she suggests using a pressure cooker. Hall found cooking a turkey in a pressure cooker resulted in a tender, flavorful meat in less time. For more food safety tips, visit the food safety section of aces.edu or contact your local Alabama Cooperative Extension System office. And finally, here's some heartwarming news we'd love to share. The Cullman County Animal Shelter expressed their deep gratitude to everyone at Louisiana Pacific in Hansville for a generous donation. In a recent post, the shelter said, "We wanted to give a special thank you to everyone at Louisiana Pacific in Hansville for the donation they made to our shelter. We can't express enough how much it means to all of us here when our sweet community thinks of us and our sweet 4-legged babies. We are humbled and blessed to say the least." It's moments like these that remind us of the incredible community spirit right here in Cullman County. For more uplifting stories like this, be sure to follow the Cullman Tribune on Facebook. That's your 4 stories in under 4 minutes. Now for a quick break before we look at the weather ahead and pay our respects with obituaries. I'll be right back after this quick message.
What's in the magazine? October's peeking in. Oktoberfest in Cullman, let the fun begin. Heroes in our town, business all around. Recipes for sharing, joy everywhere found. Colonel Cullman cheers, history in our ears, community so bright, polka through the night, sports spotlight today, kids come out to play, fields and courts are buzzing in the autumn sway. Germans came to stay, crafts and brews on display. Cullman's heart is glowing in the polka way. Colonel Cullman cheers, history in our ears, community so bright, polka through the night.
Welcome back. Let's take a moment to pause and remember those who have lost their lives this week as we turn to obituaries. Deborah Jean Self, 70 of Cullman, passed away on Saturday, November 16th at Summerford Health and Rehab in Falkville. Her family plans to have a celebration of life in her honor to be announced at a later date. Julie Hamilton, 48 of Cullman, passed away on Thursday, November 14th at her residence. Memorial service for Ms. Hamilton will be at noon on Friday, November 22nd at Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, with graveside services at 2 p.m. at Welty Cemetery. Visitation will be from 6 until 8 p.m. on Wednesday, November 20th at Cullman Heritage Funeral Home. Sandra Gail Reeves, 78 of Vinemont, passed away on Saturday, November 16th. A visitation for Ms. Reeves will be held today from noon until 2 p.m., followed by a funeral service. Ms. Reeves will be laid to rest in New Hope North Cemetery in Falkville. Deborah Lorraine Sims, 70 of Vega, Texas, passed away on November 16th. Graveside services will be at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, November 20th at Memorial Park Cemetery at Vega. That finishes up our obituaries for today. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their friends and families. Now, let's take a look at today's weather forecast. Today, expect showers and possibly a thunderstorm with a high of around 68. We might see between 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of rain. Tonight, there's still a chance of showers and maybe a thunderstorm before 9 p.m., then just a chance of showers until midnight. It'll be mostly cloudy with temperatures dropping to around 52. But here's some good news. Tomorrow, the sun returns, and we'll have sunny skies with a high near a pleasant 64 degrees. Tomorrow night, clear skies continue, and it'll get chilly with lows of around 37. And that wraps up another edition of Cullman Today. Thank you so much for starting your morning with us. Remember to stay connected by following us on social media and visiting CullmanTribune.com for the latest updates and stories. We'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. But for now, I'm Dustin Iceland with Cullman Today, wishing you a great day, Cullman.